All right. Well, this one is topic 1.4, Ancestral Africa. Today we're going to be talking about some of the most ancient African societies and their connection to this course, African American Studies. We're especially going to be looking at the features of those complex African civilizations and the goods they produced, as those are some of our important required sources. And we're going to look at why Africa's ancient societies are culturally and historically significant to Black communities today. So we'll start with Egypt, which was the earliest African civilization, and in fact may well have been the first civilization, period. I'm sure you know the basics: pyramids, pharaohs, hieroglyphics, all evidence of an advanced and complex civilization. No one's denying that ancient Egypt meets all the criteria for civilization with all those eye popping monuments. I do want to highlight one pharaoh you may not have heard of because she was the only Egyptian ruler who was a woman. Her name was Hatshepsut, and she ruled capably, improving the Egyptian economy through trade. She did wear a fake beard when she was in public because the Egyptians were pretty sexist when it came to being ruled by a woman. But historians agree that she was a good ruler. Unfortunately, she died rather young, and some have speculated that she may have been poisoned by her stepson, Thutmose III. Whether or not Thutmose was responsible for her death, he did try to erase her from history by destroying her monuments. So, yeah, he was kind of a jerk. Keep an eye on him. He's going to come up again. Upstream from Egypt on the Nile was another kingdom known as Kush, although it's sometimes called Nubia. I use Kush, but you should note that it's also called Nubia. Kush had gold, which Egypt was lacking, and so they had a trade relationship for a long time. The Kushites made most of Egypt's luxury goods, like this bracelet here, and many other types of jewelry the Egyptians were eager to buy. After a while, though, the Egyptians got tired of paying the Kushites for gold and just decided to take it by force. So they invaded and colonized Kush. This painting commemorates the successful invasion, and there he is. That's Thutmose again, the guy who tried to erase Hatshepsut. I told you he was a jerk. What followed was a few centuries of Egyptian occupation of Kush, during which certain aspects of Egyptian culture and religion started to influence the Kushites. You start to see pyramids being built to entomb Kushite rulers, for example. But Kush didn't stay an Egyptian colony forever. By the 700s BCE, a Kushite king named Pi turned the tables on Egypt, counterattacked, and then for a little while, Kush ruled over Egypt. This was the 25th pharaonic dynasty of Egypt and is sometimes called the reign of the Black Pharaohs. Again, the conquering Kushite king was named Pi. Make sure you remember him because it's required course content. This next bit is not required course content, but it should be because women don't get enough representation in history. The fact is that as rare as female rulers were in Egypt, they were actually pretty common in Kush. A Kushite queen was known as a Kandake, which is actually where the name Candace comes from. And we're going to meet my personal favorite Kandake in just a minute. A few centuries after Pi had invaded, Egypt was conquered once and for all, this time by the Roman Empire, which was pretty close to unstoppable by 100 BCE. It was around this time that the Romans set their sights on Kush, which was a target because of its gold supplies as well as its iron industry. But the Romans didn't realize that they were about to run into one of history's toughest women, an indomitable warrior queen named Amanirenas. She led the resistance and successfully fought off the Romans, a feat very few civilizations can claim to have accomplished. So that's why Queen Amanirenas is our Woman of the Week. Yay! Okay, back to serious business. Southeast of Kush, along the coast of the Red Sea, is another ancient African civilization. This one is called Aksum. Aksum became powerful partly because it had an outstanding trade location. Any ships traveling between the Roman Empire and India or China in East Asia would have sailed from the Indian Ocean into the Red Sea, going right through Aksum. This made Oxum a major commercial hub with a very active trade economy, complete with gold coins. The guy whose face is on this money is King Izana, who ruled Oxum in the 300s CE. Lots of goods and money were exchanged in Oxum, but one other thing spread there thanks to its trade relationship with the Romans, and that is the Christian religion, which had become the official religion of the Roman Empire in 313 CE and was adopted by Izana about 15 years later. This is important because it's the only time that an African civilization chose to become Christian on its own terms. Christianity was eventually kind of forced on a lot of Africans, but this is the exception. The Oxumites chose Christianity. In fact, some of the earliest versions of the Bible were produced in Oxum, recorded in the Oxumite written language known as Ge'ez. Ge'ez script is actually still the official language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which emerged from the religious beliefs of ancient Oxum. Okay, there's one more ancient African civilization that we're going to mention today, and that's called the Nok Kingdom, way over here by the Niger River. If you've been paying close attention, you might remember that this isn't far from the ancestral homeland of the Bantu people who migrated all over southern Africa. They also migrated a little ways to the north, apparently, because Nok was a Bantu speaking kingdom, well versed in ironworking, just like the rest of the Bantu civilizations that would spread across the continent. But what the Nok are best known for are these incredible terracotta sculptures, which have been discovered by the hundreds, many of them in near pristine condition. This is a great example of the type of fine art Africans were producing even as early as 1000 BCE, and undeniable evidence of an inventive and artistic culture. So there you have it. Four of the very earliest known African civilizations. There are many others, but we'll have to move forward to a more recent period of history to meet them. For now, the important thing is to collect evidence that there has long been civilization in Africa, including government, commerce, art, written languages, organized religion, and anything else you want to name as a qualifying criteria for civilization. No matter how you look at it, Africa was an important part of world affairs going all the way back to the most ancient times and produced some pretty impressive artistic and technological innovations.